Hi Scorpio and Scorpio rising, this is your September 2016 forecast. So we've got a bit of a wild month coming up with two eclipses. On the 1st of September a solar eclipse in your 11th house, and on the 16th of September a lunar eclipse in your 5th house. So lots of unexpected events. Eclipses often bring endings and new beginnings, which is in keeping with the symbolism of the equinox, which is coming up on the 22nd of September. Mercury is retrograde from the 30th of August to the 22nd of September in your 11th house, so something to look at there. And Jupiter is moving into the sign of Libra. At the end of the month, Mars is moving into Capricorn in your 3rd house. And since your ruler Mars has been a bit detrimented this year, and as a result it's probably been difficult for you to find your mojo and flow, at least as much as you usually have. So Mars going into Capricorn will be great for you for freeing up energy and helping you get that push back in the world. Okay, so in the 11th house, the solar eclipse on the 1st of September is going to have some difficult aspects to Saturn. So Saturn has been in your 2nd house with Mars, and so here there's been a bit of a economic restriction potentially in terms of money getting off the ground for things that you want to do, or you've just been feeling pretty insecure about possessions generally speaking. So the solar eclipse is going to highlight those themes, and so as a result you may feel also that you're not getting as much recognition for your work, or that your resources are hampering you from getting things out there that you want to get out there. The 11th house also has to do with friends, benefactors, associates. It's how we get our ideas marketed out, whether it's through social media or groups that we're associated with. So it's how we launch things. So that's going to be a prominent theme this month for you, especially with Mercury retrograding in your 11th house. So Mercury retrogrades, you're going to want to make sure that you've attended to all mechanical problems, and make sure that there aren't miscommunications with friends. Since Mercury is in your 11th house, this is something that can come up. So make sure that your communications are very direct. So the lunar eclipse is going to bring things to a culmination, or boiling points, especially with emotions, in your 5th house on the 16th. There are difficult aspects with Mars, so you may be feeling more irascible and hot-tempered at this time. But also, if you use this energy constructively and you don't end up saying things that you regret, then this can be a real push for problem solving. And there's a Mars-Uranus trine happening during the eclipse as well, which is really going to help you think of inventive and pioneering approaches for getting your ideas out there. Okay, and Jupiter moving into your 12th house on the 9th of September, also good for gain in terms of unexpected benefits. Jupiter in the 12th is actually quite productive, so there's lots of unseen advantages. It makes for good strategy, it makes for support generally speaking, and it also shows an interest in metaphysics and spirituality. So Jupiter quite comfortable in the 12th house, and of course it will be there for an entire year, so that's something to look forward to as well. Okay, so let's look at the month day by day. So like I said, that solar eclipse on the 1st of September, it's going to be bringing up themes for you where, you've been experiencing perhaps conflict with friends and lack of recognition for things. And so, where you've been hampered in the last while, particularly since Mars has been with Saturn in Sagittarius. And like I said, prior to that it was retrograde. So, a bit of frustration in the 2nd house coming up as a theme. So the 2nd house has to do with money and finances. So like I said, you may not necessarily feel the economic restriction, although it could be that, but yeah, there could just be a lot of insecurity for you around money, and you probably feel like you need to have more, or you're associating very strongly with your possessions and feel like you'd want a bit more status and recognition. And those things, with the solar eclipse, you'll be feeling a little bit insecure in those sorts of areas. Okay, there's also, at the time of the solar eclipse, opposition between the Sun, Moon and Neptune in your 5th house. This can show miscommunication with friends or lovers, so make sure that, again, that your communication is very clear. Someone may be trying to mislead you, So you may have an unpleasant exchange with friends, that results in confusion and disagreement. So just be aware of that. And, perhaps just pay attention. You may have to weed some friends out of your life at this time as well, with the solar eclipse in your 11th house. People who aren't really coming to the party. Okay, so on the 2nd of September, Jupiter conjuncts Mercury in your 11th house. Mercury, like I said, is retrograde, so this aspect is good for concluding old business. So it can be very good for review of business. You'll be feeling like you've got a very comprehensive grasp of things. So like I said, going over the paperwork, going over the details, making sure that you're on top of everything. So like I said, in Mercury retrograde in your 11th house, a good time to comb through things properly. Work on presentation, work on perfecting your ideas, work on perfecting your presentation, so that you can launch anything that you're working on later this month, around about the 22nd, when Mercury goes direct. Okay, so on the 7th of September, the Sun trines Pluto from your 11th to your 3rd house. This is a very energized aspect. It's going to have you feeling very confident and sure of yourself, which is a nice energy after the eclipse. And so your focus is really going to be on, communications, networking, getting your ideas out there. So like I said, you'll have a strong sense of surety, and, so there'll be a real push, to take things a little bit further, market them, possibly even think about publishing an idea. Although again, like I said, might want to just save that final push for when Mercury is direct. Okay, so on the 9th of September, Jupiter is moving into Libra for an entire year. So in Libra, Jupiter has a lot of social connections, and so there's an opportunity to network more efficiently or for gains through networking, which corresponds to the 11th house sun that you've got going on at the moment. And Jupiter will be in this house for a whole year. So like I said, this is good for, like I said, strategizing, working behind the scenes, that kind of careful, crafty planning. And so that's going to lead up to Jupiter eventually moving into your 1st house a year from now. So use this time to really, like I said, strategize, make connections, go over your schemes. That's not to say that you won't have a lot of opportunity for this sort of thing. It's just that, like I said, working behind the scenes and, having a certain sense of confidence that you don't need recognition from others for is what Jupiter is going to give you in this house. On the 10th, Saturn squares Neptune from your 2nd to your 5th house. This Saturn-Neptune square has been ongoing for most of 2016, and it's been an aspect that's led to a lot of leaking energy, a lot of lack of self-confidence, unnecessary fears, confusion. And so it's very good that this aspect is finally making its last perfection on the 10th of September and will now be on its way out. For you, this has been in the houses of finances and resources and possessions and lovers, friends and children. So, like I said, there could have been frustration and, like I said, a loss of energy with regards to these areas of your life, economic restrictions, unnecessary obstacles. Maybe your money's been tied up and you haven't been able to utilize it like you'd like, or you just wanted more of it. So this kind of focus freeing up, especially with Mars moving away from Saturn towards the end of the month. Okay, so on the 11th of September, Venus squares Pluto from the 12th to the 3rd house. This aspect can show a bit of a power play or power dynamic between you and other people. So in your communications, you might find that you're being a bit pushy or domineering, or conversely that someone is being that way towards you. Because of the houses involved, it can also show an inclination to spend a bit of money lavishly. So let's see how it works out for you. On the 12th, Mercury will square Mars between your 11th and 2nd. Mercury and Mars in a difficult aspect can show harsh words, anger, lashing out, so feeling hot-tempered and kind of defiant. So because the House of Friends is involved, it's possible that there could be a dispute with someone, like I said, a friend or a group that you're associated with. So just be aware of this at this time. You know, sometimes it's good to take a stand, but this aspect comes just before the lunar eclipse, so emotions will have a way of getting out of hand. So on the 16th of September, the full moon eclipse in your 5th house. So it's the houses involved in these eclipses are the 11th and the 5th. So that's the polarity. You know, it's the house of fun, where we find pleasure, like recreation. So, you know, it also pertains to gambling and speculative ventures, in the house of friends and networks. So very social houses for you. So there could be some kind of drama in these areas of your life. So don't be surprised. Romantic relationship could come to an end or just come to a peak point. So, like I said, and there's strong emotions involved. The sun and the moon are squaring Mars during the eclipse. So you'll be feeling quite defensive or be easily offended. So, and again, it's that hot-headedness that we saw earlier with the Mercury square Mars. So these could lead to blow-ups or disputes with friends, with a lover. Like I said, a friendship or a love relationship might come to an end. But if so, it's because it's time to move along. And okay, so just things to be aware of for you. On the 17th, Mars trines Uranus from your 2nd to your 6th. This is a very dynamic aspect. So if you want to, it's a good time for launching something in the workplace. You'll be feeling pioneering, inventive, original. So, you know, time for a novel approach, something that you haven't tried before. And so you're bound to feel quite energized with this aspect. And so if there is something unusual that you want to push in the workplace, then this is a good aspect for that. And so, like I said, good for independent, creative, original thinking. And so an unusual way to push your ambition or agenda in terms of drive. On the 18th and the 19th, there's some interesting aspects between Venus and Mars and Uranus. So on the 18th, Venus opposes Uranus from the 12th to the 6th houses, because these are the houses of health and illness and losses as such, and Venus is often pleasure and indulgence. This can show too much of a good thing. So perhaps you partied a bit hard and you're going to be feeling the results. So you went a little bit overboard, but you probably enjoyed yourself a lot. Okay, but on the 19th, Venus sextiles Mars. This is actually a very good aspect for chemistry and romance. So good time for dating, good time for trying something new. It's also good for socializing and teamwork. So a pleasant aspect, actually. So if there's sexual chemistry about, this one is going to make it known. Between the 20th and the 23rd, Mercury trines Pluto from the 11th to the 3rd house. So this is just prior to Mercury going direct. And so it's very good for that final refining of ideas or things that you've been working on, especially if you want to make them public or market them. So really a good polishing aspect. So there's a lot of punch behind your ideas, and you'll really be able to pull things together very well. And like I said, from here, Mercury will go direct on the 22nd of September. So give it a few days to speed up, and then take something public if you've been working on it. And like I said, perfecting it, as it were. So a good time then to make that presentation, especially with the Sun, which will conjunct Jupiter on the 26th. So this is also a good aspect for publishing. It's lucky, it's optimistic and broad-minded, and so a very favorable aspect. So also an aspect that's going to have you feeling very good and confident about yourself. So with Mercury now direct, this would be a good time to push. The Sun will also be moving into your 12th house in the last week of September. So this is going to be that period of reflection and review that one has typically the month before your birthday. And, you know, so it's just a chance to pull the themes of the year together and to put your life under review. And the month finishes with a new moon in Libra in your 12th house, so more on that next month. If you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. And if you want to find out more information about the solar eclipse, please visit my website at www.psyche.co.za for a good article on it. Anyway, thank you for listening. Bye.